Hello, welcome back. We are here talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 8, Chapter 24, The Return. Let's just dive right into it. It was the finale. Did it work? Tell me.
Too little, too late. I was a bit perplexed. I mean, I there was some bits I kind of enjoyed, like the action. I enjoyed the ending to it was acceptable in the sense of the way it finished it, as in it was finished. Dun dun dun.
It's definitely finished.
But yeah, too little, too late. I think it wasn't as wow. It didn't have the wow factor I was wanting, especially for the quality of the season. That's it, really. I mean, that's how I feel. I'm kind of shrugging because it's like, yeah, it's done now. And then it's
Absolutely.
like, go look at the trailer for what's the new one?
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, that's it.
So, yeah, I felt exactly the same. I watched it 6 hours ago, give or take. And if I hadn't written down notes, I would have forgotten most of it. And it was definitely too little. It was funny. I thought this was the perfect ending to the season that we didn't get.
Yes.
Right. The ending was ending was actually really good. I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah.
The end of the story. I mean, I've got lots of things went wrong. There was lots of bad things, but kind of really enjoyed this being the ending to a story. We just missed out the story.
Yep.
So the season had no story, and we've got an ending to a story. But yeah, there was just I just felt like okay, and then right at the very end, we'll break it down in a bit. But basically, yeah, I thought far too little, far too late. I didn't care about anything that was going on. I didn't understand half the stuff that was really going on. It was very like visually just throw things around. People are flying everywhere, jetpacks are going, people are getting stabbed, shot, boom, 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 boom. Super quick. It was just
yes.
It's almost like they got to the end and were like, oh wait, we've only got half an hour left of storytelling. Oh shit, let's just do everything super quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So as I say, I thought she thought it was a really good tip of a spear, but we just hadn't had the spear. So I didn't care.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just, you mentioned the visual aspect. I think, yeah, I almost feel they kind of went a bit overboard in the sense of they were trying to compensate. Yeah. And I was like, but I would have rather have had a season of the show. And I only watched it a little while ago, and even then, I'm trying to think of like major wow moments, and I think the only kind of major wow moment was maybe Grogu like protecting them during the fire blast.
However, I watched that, and it went on my list of basically. I think we both think the same thing, that it was mediocre at best. Yeah. But, like, I started writing down all the stuff that was just annoying me. Like, and it started straight from the first scene. So, literally, you get the first scene, and Mando's there, like, Din, and it's like, he starts kicking these guards' ass, and it's cool. He's flipping. It's like, oh yeah, remember Din is actually meant to be a really talented fighter / bounty hunter? It's like, yeah, they'd forgotten about that for the whole season. But he starts kicking their ass. But then, immediately following that, it flips to like, there's two things that happened which were totally ridiculous. Apparently his cape is fireproof, which, like, I don't understand. I can understand the Beskar armor, but his cape is fireproof. And then somehow, out of goddamn nowhere, he's kicking their ass, they're kicking his ass. It's actually pretty cool. It reminded me very much of, like, I don't know if you ever saw it, but Daredevil. Very sort of raw fighting style, yeah. It was long, and but then Grogu just turns up. You're like, well, where the fuck did you come from? How did you fight? How did you get there? And why did none of the other Mandalorians come with you? It's like...
So, yeah, I mean, my overall feeling, it's like, I'm sitting here, right? I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons. I am in this weird kind of, if that's them done, then fine, because I have no emotional attachment left to it at all, whatsoever.
So, speaking of that, did you think, right at the very, very end, is that Din's story done? Like,
yeah.
It seemed that way to me.
I assume that's what they're meaning, because the way they quickly tied up all... I mean, I know this episode, I apologise, is going to be all over the place, because I'm remembering things in a random order, because I was just not taking it in. But yeah, the ending just seemed to be like, oh, right, Grogu's apprentice, it was Din Grogu now. Right, okay. So... this is what I said. I actually said to Rachel at the time. It's like, all right, you see, if you want to adopt a kid or Mandalore, just go up and be like, oh, this is now my son.
He's mine now. Yeah,
oh, it's in the song now. I was like, what? Like, there just seems to be all these, like, once I'll give it, I'll let it slide. But it's like every episode is like, oh, this is not the way. Ah, well, if we do this, and then they all go, this is the way. And I'm like, you're just making stuff up now, guys. Yeah, so he did. What was it? On Mandalore, like, you went in for the drink, but then they went to the monster in the water.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started on that.
Like, okay, right, fair enough. We all know about that. And then what was the next thing? He flew off to meet the New Republic, when he's basically like, oh, I want to basically be a dude that you're not allowed to have, like, basically a contractor for you. And they're like, let me think. Okay, that's fine. So he's like, oh, that's that ticked off the thing. Then it was like, oh, can I get an advance of the IG-11 robot? Oh yeah, conveniently goes off to thingamajig, and he's like, oh, here's your new robot to protect you. Oh, right, okay, here's your cabin in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, my first thought was like, what the fuck was the point in you, like, going off to rescue your home planet if you're just gonna go live somewhere else now?
Exactly.
Okay. And then just the ending was just him with his, like, basically a shoebox in the middle of nowhere with a pond and a tree, and I'm like, wow. Really?
Like, yeah, is this what we've been leading up to? Like, this?
Is this it?
This is what he was offered in episode 1.
Yeah.
Like, he was offered that in episode 1. In fact, I think he was offered more. So he would have been better off just at the start of episode 1 going, yeah, I'll take the job as the lawman. I'll do that. Season 4. But yeah, I saw at the end, like, right, so Din's put his feet up and he's resting. I didn't understand any of it. I thought, first of all, was Grogu not his, like, son anyway? So what more level could there be? Like, what's next? Like, he's gonna become his brother, and then eventually Grogu's going to become Din's father. Like, he's just going to keep. Why do they keep adding layers? And then it's like, okay, now that you have an apprentice, you must leave Mandalore. And like, I've literally spent all this time getting it back.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah, because he's got an apprentice. The apprentice has to go do apprentices shit, and the apprentice isn't allowed on Mandalore. That's how little I was
paying attention to the end of it. That there in a nutshell shows you how much I switched off, because it just did not grip me whatsoever. I did not realise that was a thing. I was honestly genuinely like, you're an idiot, Din. Like, why have you gone and rescued Mandalore and then gone off to live on another planet? There you go. I mean, that just proves my point.
Well, yeah. And were you as super satisfied as I was with the whole Mythosaur storyline which they were building up, and then that really satisfying payoff at the end?
Oh, look, it's another eye underwater.
So the Mythosaur, I was sitting there convinced that at some point Bo-Katan or even Din was going to go and get the Mythosaur, and that was going to be the thing that turned the tide of the battle. Because I thought, well, there's no way they could tease the Mythosaur like all that time, and then have it do nothing. But then at the end, Grogu sort of like went Forcey, and then it opened its eyes. So it was Grogu talking to it
again.
Yeah, but like, so what was the point of the Mythosaur? What was the point of the Mythosaur? What an absolute waste of like the very little emotion I had for this episode and this season.
I mean,
but
like the whole the things that annoyed me, right, was like crashing. What did they call it? Which ship did they call it again? I can't remember.
Oh, the capital ship.
It's capital ship, yeah. And they crashed it. I was like, all right, so the Axe-Wolves leader, he's gonna like go down with the ship, and you know he's gonna sacrifice himself. No, didn't even have the honor of doing that. So the character that we had built some sort of relationship up with died in the last episode. The person that, as far as I'm aware, I've only known for like 2 minutes is able to get out and not sacrifice himself, and never see him again.
Also, you know, the guy died needlessly because immediately after they've started running away, they're chased by the Beskar troopers again. So literally immediately they're getting chased and shot at again. So he died for nothing. He didn't even slow them down. And so many. I mean, I've got a list of all the things that pissed me off here. And one of the things that you were talking about is like, so the Mandalorians can now fly in space. Yeah, like they can fly into space. That's now a thing, is it? Because beforehand they couldn't even fly, you know, around the canyon they were in because they run out of jet fuel. But now they can just fly in space, and then they can fly around forever. None of them have refueled. Like, you've never seen any of them refuel for however long. But now they can fly into space.
Was it space? I thought it was just above the clouds in the atmosphere. I thought they were still in the atmosphere, but it was above the clouds.
No, I thought they were. I thought
because
they'd
of
gone
the
out
magnetic.
Yeah, I thought they'd gone out of the atmosphere. Like,
I thought it was something to do with the magnetic fields of the planet had been broken because of the purge, and then that's why there's a layer of like lightning clouds, and then it's. You see, I just don't care.
But see, then another thing, it was just, like on the way down. Then he goes up, flies up.
But you still raise a valid point, as you say. They don't have enough fuel to like go. But I thought the exact same thing. I was like, all right, so the ship that was bumping about, and like, ooh, you know, he's just flying straight up, and as you said there, fuel. And my first thought was, all right then, okay, so yeah, so like, which one is it? Is it that they can't fly long distances, or they can fly long distances? Pick one and give them a limitation. Yeah. You're
going to give them a limitation. Keep it, because then immediately he goes up to get the Mandalorians. They come down. They goes, let's get to the dropships. Why bother with the dropships? You're just going to the dropship to then, because he can go through. Like, he clearly went through the lightning cloud.
Yep.
So it's not like that damages them. So what was the point of going to the dropships? Like,
to then drop out of them.
Yeah, to then to wait, like come down 4 feet and then drop out of it. Utter nonsense. And you get the thing that it was so inconsistent. The whole episode was inconsistent, and that's the main word or main gripe with it.
Yeah.
Like, everything was just done for plot. Like, the guards were either like super Beskar guards and were taking down everyone, or they were absolutely fucking useless and couldn't hurt a fly. And they switched in between, like, randomly. The same with the Beskar armor. Like, occasionally they would take hits for like hours and not do anything, and then as soon as the plot needed it, one little blaster strike and they go down.
Yep.
It made no sense at all. Like, when he's going through the red shields thing, yeah, all the different red barriers, and he's taking them down 2 at a time. I thought, that's really cool. I quite like that. And it made them feel like the guards feel really quite intimidating, or like they were supposed to be intimidating. But then he gets to the end and he takes down like 4 or 5, and it's like, oh right, so actually they were pretty shit.
And then you find out, and the thing that annoyed me about that whole scene was the fact that had he just gone round the other side.
Yes, exactly.
He had a robot that could do all that. Yeah. Oh, the comic
robots.
Relief.
It wasn't even funny. Why those bots are like ridiculous? If they're like security bots, or whatever, and he just goes and gets other shitty security bots and they just sort of tap into him. I did think at one point, actually, I'm jumping all over the place, I know, but the episode was so like that anyway. You notice that R5, when he came down, and then he sort of looks over the cliff? Like, are we telling me, like, that someone has programmed into this droid a fear of heights? Or was he, like, contemplating suicide? Like...
Defend it all now.
I can't deal with this shit. I'm just gonna jump.
The only thing that was funny about that scene, with especially with what do they call them, mouse droids? I think they call them.
Yeah. Like
was the fact that, like, when he was like, "Fuck this shit," and blasted off again at the end, one fell off the edge, and I was like, "Lol." I was like, "Lol."
Sucks to be that.
I mean, other than that, I was a bit like, because I was thinking, all right, the one that you see, that's what annoyed me, right? The joke was obviously the mouse droid came up and found R5 and bumped into him, you know, as in you shouldn't be here, and it did the little siren thing. I thought, haha, yeah, like, I was like, haha, that is funny. And then it went away, and I thought, of course, what's going to happen now is there's going to be like a couple of troops, and he's going to like either run away or, you know, there's going to be a battle. No, we'll do the same joke again, but with 5 of them. And I was like, oh, right, okay, this is like, you know, I'm looking at my watch going, right, okay, that's a bit of a waste of my time. And then he just flies away.
Anything like that.
He just flies away. And I was like, what was the whole point in that sequence?
Utterly pointless and meaningless. Like, it made no sense whatsoever. Gideon has a random map in his room which only has Grogu and the Mandalorian on it.
Oh, yeah. How does that work?
Well, how does that work? Yeah. How? Like, that made no sense. But then the biggest pet peeve, you get to the end, and we find out Gideon's plan is he was trying to clone himself, but with force powers. And I thought to myself immediately, why would Gideon clone a more powerful version of himself to what? Take over? Like, because if it's a clone of Gideon and he has force powers, he's not going to listen to Moff Gideon.
I forgot about that. I actually forgot the whole thing he was up to. That's how much I did not take in. And I was just like, I was kind of like, it was like I was looking through the episode.
So we also have to think then that, like, Moff Gideon had the technology to make perfect clones, but he gave the Emperor, like, the shitty technology to create the shitty clones that produces Snoke, or whatever his name is. And then he doesn't. So he keeps the good technology for himself, and what gives the Emperor the shitty ones. I thought, that's a bit harsh. But then, obviously, they're fighting, and I thought, okay, this would be cool. They never mention it, but you could hear it every time Gideon was moving. That like his suit was augmented with strength or something, because he was kicking Din's ass. Like,
so annoying. This is one of the things, especially this episode, that did it. It's this American thing of emphasizing everything. Do you get the point? Do you get it?
Yeah.
Do you get that he's super strong? Do you get that he's like augmented? Do you understand? And it's like, yes, I can infer things from the show without you having to spell it out to me. And that's what sometimes annoys me about American TV shows, is like they have to spell everything out for you. And it's like, no, I get the gist of it, you know, I understand. And that was one of them when they kept like showing him punching the ground, or as you said, you know, he's holding up Din Djarin, and it's like, yes, I get he's super strong. He's told me multiple times he's upgraded the armor. I get the hint.
This is basically the definition of poor writing. Like, it's so shoddily written that they have to spell things out for like 5-year-olds, because they aren't capable of putting in things that are subtle enough for you to like figure out for yourself. Everything is slammed into your face at a million miles an hour because they want it all done in 10 seconds so they can get back to what they want to do, which is more random action. Like, because Bo-Katan comes in and saves Din again. Like, she saves Din again. To the point where it's like, then she's like, well, because Grogu appears. And he's like, oh, go and save your son. So he goes and tries to save his son, but he can't get to the door because Moff Gideon's holding him back with a string. Because the Praetorian guards, or whatever they are, the Praetorian Guards who were taking down like the badass Mando last week, and they can't even beat Grogu in a tin walking machine pressing no.
That annoyed me. That whole thing annoyed me. That whole thing annoyed me. Like, they were supposed to try and get it up to being like an epic ending, and I walked away from it, like, because when you start hearing, because I was listening to the music, and that was a bit that did kind of take me interest, because it was very Phantom Menace, the soundtrack. You know, when the three of them go into the room, you heard the music, the score kind of go, and I was like, oh, okay, something's going to happen. Like, are we going to see like some proper action from Grogu? Is something going to happen? Is he going to like not transform physically per se, but transform as a character? Like he's going to. Nah, he just jumps on the lights. Oh, he pushes something away. Oh, he pushes one of the guards away, and then in the same breath makes Din Djarin look worse again because he needs Grogu to help him. And I get, and this is what I'm kind of going on with. You don't need to keep making Din Djarin look bad for me to understand that him and Grogu have a relationship that's close. I get that. Yeah, they can both uniquely be badass. They don't need to make one look crap to make the other look better. And you've said that multiple times. You've said it multiple times before.
Especially when just minutes before you've seen Din being a badass.
Yeah.
When he has to be. He's kicking everyone's ass. But then I just thought Grogu's powers were like... They were so shit. I was expecting, again, I'm expecting far too much from the show. But I was expecting that, Grogu seeing his dad in real jeopardy was going to do something like amazing. He was going to lift all three of them up. And I was actually waiting for, in, is it the Return of the Sith? I think it's the Return of the Sith, where Yoda walks in to meet to face the Emperor, and he's got two of the Praetorian Guards there, and Yoda just goes,
yep,
and they're just done, to show how powerful Yoda is. It's like boom, boom, yeah, and Grogu's obviously not Yoda, but he's the same species, so he has the potential. And I was thinking to myself, Grogu's going to do something here that's amazing, but he lightly pushes one 3 feet. He pushes another thing's staff away, and then kind of does nothing really.
But that's what annoyed me. The one thing I expected to happen was him to do something super big, and it was a damn squib. It just went,
Yeah. So then when he does do the thing at the end, when he stops like the explosion or whatever, I was thinking to myself, well, where is it? Where is his level of power? His level of power is basically just whatever the lazy ass writers can be bothered writing. Yeah, because it's like one time he can barely defend himself against a guard. The next second he's stopping and like the whole ship thing exploding around them, and protecting him and Bo-Katan with ease. It seems like he just goes, and he stops the whole explosion. So. Did you think it was? I thought it was stupid, but I was laughing at this point in the show where Bo-Katan goes to try and protect them from the explosion with her tiny little arm shield. What do you think you're protecting with that?
I was like, oh my! I was actually hoping. I was actually hoping a small part of me was the fact that none of them were going to survive, and that was going to be the end.
I was hoping they'd all die. But you also like that, again, it's just the total inconsistencies, and I've used that word quite a few times, but it's like Gideon's armor, and Gideon is either kicking the both of their asses with absolute ease until it gets to the point where he needs to die, and suddenly he's getting blaster fired and staggering all the back because he's getting shot with the same blasters he was taking like a bullet sponge not minutes before.
Dark Saber.
Oh yeah, Dark Saber now. Again, another utterly pointless piece of like story that was the only bits of story in this whole series were the Dark Saber and the Mythosaur. Now, the Mythosaur was apparently nothing, and the Dark Saber is now nothing because they've destroyed it. But it doesn't really matter because all the Mandalorians now love each other, and again, I'm going off on random tangents, but I saw a video the other day, and someone was like, if I was Din Djarin, I'd be right pissed off, because at the start of the series, he's an apostate because he took his helmet off.
Yeah.
So he has to go through this mad challenge to get back into the way of the Mandalore, right for the very end, and like the armor just goes to Bo-Katan. Nah, you can walk both ways. It's fine.
Another example of just the youngling can't say the creed, and we've got all these important values, and then it is almost like these are not the droids you're looking for. Oh, it's okay. The youngling can now do everything and be apprentice because you're their dad now.
No, we fired that writer. It's okay. We've got a new writer in. But he wants to do something different.
But my point is as well, the whole point of the Mandalorians is they're proud of their heritage. They've got customs, and that's their people. That's what they do. Stop changing and moving the goalposts every episode, because that's another sign of bad writing. You've got to set up, if you're going to set up this race of people or society that have got these customs and rules, right? You've got to show them living by it. Okay, once in a blue moon, show them maybe breaking a custom, and especially in the whole we've always done it this way, why when we can do it this way, that kind of story I get. But just being like, oh, you're the dad now because you said you are, so off you pop. And I was sitting there going, at that point when that happened, I was just like, great. So they're not even going to try to do, they're not even going to try to be like, I don't know. Because I thought when they said, oh no, you can't speak the creed yet, I thought, oh, right, what are they going to do? Make Grogu like maybe say a word? So like he's not quite there yet. He's evolving. He's his character's development. No. In you go, sir. You're an apprentice now. Why? Oh, you see that man you've been running around for with 3 seasons? He's decided to be your dad, and he says it's all right. So into the song you go. And I honestly, like, I think if you were to say like my final thought, I don't really have a final thought, because my genuine reaction to the episode was just like, meh.
Yeah. I was expecting, again, I expect way too much, but I was expecting Grogu to say, the way this is, right? Like classic Yoda speech right at the very end.
Yeah.
But no, he says nothing. And all the teases of Thrawn amounted to nothing. There's no Thrawn.
Because this brings me on, this is in fact, I thought about this earlier, and you've just reminded me by saying this. I think that the reason that this season was crap is the fact that we're done with it now. We're over to Ahsoka, because Ahsoka, have you seen the trailer for that?
Yeah.
Who's in that?
Yeah, Thrawn.
Exactly. So I think what's happened is this cash cow has been milked, and I think we're going over to that now.
Yeah, I think basically it's season 3, and yeah, I mean my final thoughts on the episode is it was pretty much garbage. But season 3, I think, was literally, and I think they've even admitted it backhandedly, was just an experiment and a bunch of interviews for potential directors / writers on other Star Wars projects, and it was given so little care and attention that they've just assumed everyone's going to like it because of the first 2 seasons being such a great success, that they've absolutely not even tried. They've just let people play with it. It's like if you're in football and you're going to go up against a shit team, so you play your absolute B team.
Yeah.
Like there is, and you just to give them a bit of training and a bit of like experience. That's what they've done here. Like there was nobody in charge of the showrunner. There was no one really overwatching all of it, as far as I could tell. No. And it's just such a shame, because now I do not care when season 4 of this comes out, if there is one. I assume there will be. If season 4 of this comes out, I don't give a shit. No. I don't care. I mean, if they wrapped up Din's story here, I think it'd be
season 4 comes out, it will have to impress me from the get-go and be an amazing season. You won't be able to get away with an average season. But as I said, I think that's it, done and dusted. Like Disney's done with Marvel, they've got new Star Wars projects coming out, and I'm just the problem I have with things like this now is the fact that you said on last week that you watched the interview and saw your rant and stuff like that about oh, you won't need to see other shows, but I will. Instead of having 1 or 2 decent stories being told, there's going to be 5 mediocre ones that are going to go off, and there will be nods and there'll be bits where every so often the storylines or the timelines will intersect and stuff like that, and there will be like, oh, you watched ABC, well, you'll get XYZ reference in that episode. And once again, a bit like Marvel, I have to be brutally honest with you, I'm like losing interest in Marvel because I just don't have the time to keep up with everything. I remember when the films were out and then the Clone Wars was out on Cartoon Network, and I thought, yeah, that's nice. They've taken something, they've done something a wee bit different, that's fine. Now it's just like Star Wars.
Too much.
Make 1 or 2 decent stories. You've done your extra films. Do 1 or 2 decent stories and just run with them. You're pigeonholing too much.
They're going to have the problem. What they've done is they really have. This is a gamble that's really backfired for them because, like, I am now not interested in Ashoka. I'm not interested in seeing any of their other projects because I'm just like, if this is the shit that they're churning out at the moment, like. I just don't have the time to dedicate to watching garbage. I mean, fair enough, if I get halfway through a series of 8 episodes and it turns out to be garbage, I will commit to watching the rest because I've started it. But now if I go in knowing I can't go into something knowing it's going to be garbage or assuming it's going to be garbage because that's just a waste for everyone. So that's what they've just done for me. I do not care about Ashoka now. I could have been interested in that. Like, that's an interesting character. I quite liked her cameo in the last couple of seasons, I thought. And Rosario Dawson. I like Rosario Dawson as an actress. I think she's really good. But now I'm like, if this is the shit you're going to be churning out, I don't care. I don't care. I know, like, Dave Filoni, I think Dave Filoni created the character. So he's always been, like, very passionate about her. So would actually probably care. Like season 1 of The Mandalorian, but he'll go on to something else new. When he comes to his feature film, which is coming out at some point in the next few years, they'll all stop caring about the TV projects.
Yep.
But you've now you've not earned me watching anymore. So
no.
I mean, it's a sad state of affairs to be like, I know there's some stuff coming out, and some of it might be good.
Because you wouldn't think you'd be in this position at the end of season 2 with Mandalorian.
No, God no.
You wouldn't think that we would be having this conversation. Rachel, she was excited for it.
If this had ended the same way season 2 had ended, and it's been the same sort of quality through season 2, I'd be super excited about the other upcoming projects.
Yeah.
Or if they'd announced those projects right after, because that's why I even started watching the Book of Boba Fett. Now that turned out to be a bad idea because that was garbage.
Thank God,
but they got me in. Yeah. They got me into it because I was like, yeah, you've done so well up until this point of like redeeming Star Wars from like the sequel movies, which were a bit garbage. So you've bought me a ticket, to the next project you're doing. But now that's gone. They've not got that anymore. So I won't be. I won't be watching. I'm gonna have to wait. I'll wait a couple of episodes, maybe watch some people's reviews, and be like, okay, if people I trust are saying it's worth watching, then I might give it a go. But yeah, I'm basically totally done with it now, and officially over for Star Wars as far as I'm concerned. So that was not the thing. If they were hoping that was going to be the thing that saved it, that was a massive miscalculation.
Yep.
Any other things you thought you want to bring up before we bring this to a close?
No, I can't really think of anything else because it was that lackluster.
So here's the big question. Here's the big question. If you met someone or someone asked you who'd never seen season 1, season 2 of The Mandalorian, would you recommend that they start watching it knowing that it's going to end where it has ended right now? Because I wouldn't recommend to anyone to watch Game of Thrones because of how brilliant it started, but how poorly it finished.
Oh, that's a good question.
I feel like I'm going to be like that to people. If people say to me, should I watch The Mandalorian?
Because it's not like Parks and Rec. It's not like Parks and Rec where everybody universally knows that Parks and Recreation's first season is abysmal. Like,
yeah, it's dog shit because
I mean, I know at least 3 people who I've actually had to say to, no, go and watch season 2, stick out season 2, and then you'll just fall into it, and and people be like, oh wow, that's amazing. But yeah, on the vice versa, no, I think it would be kind of like the problem is it'll be like Game of Thrones. It'll be like, oh yeah, Game of Thrones, just stop at the end of 7. Same with Mandalorian. The only way I would change what I'm about to say is if season 4 was, if there is one, is good. I would say watch it on the understanding you're only getting 2 seasons. Watch the third season.
Skip season 3 probably.
But you got 2 good seasons of TV, and there's a third season there if you want it. But first 2 are fine. Yeah. If season 4 comes out and it's amazing, it's really good, I would say to people, season 1 and 2 are good, suck up with 3, then get back on the hype train.
So let's say this is the end of Din's story, and season 4 of The Mandalorian is more about Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians maybe rebuilding their society, and Din's like a cameo. And there's a very good chance of that happening because given Pedro Pascal's rise to stardom of late, he's going to be going on to bigger and better projects, right? Especially after seeing the presumably lackluster response to this season. His enthusiasm for coming back for a 4th season, if he's not contractually obligated to, probably pretty low. So if this is the end of Din's story, I would definitely recommend people don't watch it, just because for me personally it's such a wet fart ending, that it subsequently goes back and ruins the first 2 seasons slightly for me.
Yeah, the 2 theories I would have for, say, the 4th season would either be Bo-Katan and her storyline. Now, before anybody says anything, I am not against that. But make it either painfully obvious that they are now the Mandalorian. Don't bring somebody else in and make me wonder who really is running the show at that point. Make it all about her, or don't, but make it painfully obvious. Or secondly, are we going to go back, if there is a 3rd one, back to Din Djarin being space cowboy, basically, going back to being a bounty hunter, because he's obviously hinted at the New Republic working with them and stuff like that. Is that the route he's taking? Is Bo-Katan going to be taking a back seat now because he's kind of
he's joining a sinking ship?
If that season was his kind of story with helping Bo-Katan getting back Mandalore, then that was such a bad way of doing it. Bad character representation and framing, if you ask me. It was just poor. But the thing is, season 4 comes out. I think even with new Star Wars project, I think I would maybe wait a couple of episodes and go, go to somebody I trust and be like, is it worth watching? And take it from there. So if somebody said after 2 or 3 episodes, don't bother watching, I'll be like, oh, that's it. Don't care. I don't have time to waste on crap.
So I think a predict would be that this is the end of The Mandalorian as we know it. And season 4, if there is one, will be a Bo-Katan show. And I think, in the interview, they hinted that Dave Filoni's movie is going to be the culmination of all these Mandoverse characters. So the Din, Bo-Katan, Grogu, Ahsoka, they're all going to get like that's going to be their end point. But I don't think
Yeah.
we're going to see Din in any significant way again until that movie.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, I mean, if only we could tell Din that he's aligning his star to a sinking ship. That is the New Republic. Like, that's not going to end happily for him. So we know his story is not going to end particularly happily if he's going to be, staying with the New Republic, which is a bit sad. But anyway, well, on that disappointing note, I don't think there's much else to really say about it. We've actually spent more time talking about it than the show run length as well was just pathetic, half an hour basically. But that was its only saving grace, is that it didn't last too long.
No.
So,
thankfully.
Yeah. If you agreed with us, disagreed with us, thought we were all mad, let us know. If not, we'll see you in the next torturous thing that we do. But
yeah.
Until then, cheerio.
Catch you later.